Good morning, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. Let us begin our class with a prayer. The two stanzas, shlokas from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Jagannatha Ashtakam. These are on page 206 of this book, The Universal Prayers. The first two on that page 206. Om न वैराचे राज्यं न च कनकमणि माणिक्यविभवं न याचेऽहं रम्यां सकलजनकाम्यां वरवधूं सदा काले काले प्रमथपतिना गीतचरितो जगन्नाथस्वामी नयनपथगामी भवतु मे हरत्वं संसारं द्रुततरमसारं सुरपते हरत्वं पापानां विततिमपरां यादवपते अहो दीने नाथे निहितमचलं निश्चितपदं जगन्नाथस्वामी नयनपथगामी भवतु मे Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O Lord, I do not beg for a kingdom, nor for gold and jewels, nor do I ask for a beautiful bride, so eagerly desired by men. Please reveal yourself unto me, O mighty Lord of the universe, whose glory is always sung even by the greatest of gods. O God of gods, pray remove forthwith from my mind all fascination for this vain and fleeting world. O Lord, take away the heaps of heinous sins from me. O God, you ever bestow thy unfailing mercy upon the miserable and the helpless. O mighty Lord of the universe, please reveal yourself unto me. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings, and may there be peace everywhere in nature. Adhyatmika Shanti, Adi Bhautika Shanti, and Adi Daivika Shanti. Let us continue our study of chapter 16. In this chapter, which is called Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, there are divine qualities, virtues in human beings, and there are also demoniac qualities, asuri sampat. We have to know the distinction, and we have to practice the virtues, divine qualities, asuri sampat, and try to overcome the asuri qualities, the demoniac qualities. So far, in the first three shlokas of this chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna gave a list of 26 divine virtues, asuri sampat. Those three shlokas have to be studied carefully and in much detail, because those are the ones you have to practice. Almost the remaining part of this chapter deals with asuri sampat, bad qualities, demoniac qualities, which we should avoid at all costs. Much of it is familiar to us. So this segment from sloka 4 onwards, we can go fairly rapidly. Much of it is familiar to us, and we don't have to dwell too much on the divine, on the demoniac qualities. We have to dwell for a long time on the divine virtues, daivi sampat, not so much on the asuri sampat. So we were in the middle of, we finished the first 8 shlokas in this chapter. The beginning from shloka number 4, Bhagavan Sri Krishna describes the demoniac qualities. As we'll quickly chant those shlokas from 4 onwards. Dambho darpo bhi atimanascha krodha parushyameva cha ajnanam cha bijatasya partha sampadamasurim. Dambha darpa atimana krodha parushyam ajnanam. These are all virtues. Damba means showing off, bragging about one's own virtues and one's own possession, property, knowledge, etc. Darpa means arrogance. Krodha means anger. We are familiar with all these things from earlier chapters. Parushyam means harshness. Our speech must not be harsh, must be gentle, and our actions must be gentle, not harsh. Even while dealing with animals, plants, and inanimate objects, we have to be gentle. While closing the door or while keeping an object in its place, in all these actions, we have to be gentle. Opposite of this, that is parushya, should not have that. Krodha, parushya, these are all demoniac qualities. Ajnanam. Jnana here means self-knowledge. Earlier we have seen 2 kinds of knowledge. Paravidya, aparavidya. Both have to be known. The Upanishad, it says, one has to have both kinds of knowledge. Dve vidye, veditavye, parachaiva, aparacha. Aparavidya is all the branches of knowledge we are familiar with. Whatever we study in academic institutions, universities, all aspects of science, technology, social sciences, humanities, everything comes under the umbrella of aparavidya. Here, when ajnanam, the Lord says ajnanam, absence of paravidya. Paravidya means knowledge of the self. Para yaya tadaksharam adhigamyate. We studied aksharam earlier in the 8th chapter and later in the 15th chapter also. Akshara. Akshara means supreme reality, Brahman. Aksharam Brahma Paramam. Supreme reality, Brahman. Not knowing that. That is what we truly are. Upanishad says that Tamasi Aham Brahmasmi. You heard about those Mahavakyas. Not being aware of it, not experiencing our divine nature, but experiencing only the body mind, which is part of Prakriti, changing all the time and coming and going. So, absence of that knowledge of the self is ajnanam. These are qualities of those who have inherited demoniac qualities. Some asurim sampadam abhijatasya. The next sloka, number 5. This also we read last time. Daivi sampad vimokshaya nibandhaya surimata mashucha sampadam daivim abhijatosi pandava. The divine attributes, daivi sampad. If we cultivate them, what happens? Vimokshaya, liberation. Moksha means liberation. Liberation from what? from ignorance of our true nature, from all limitations, all suffering, and liberation from the cycle of birth and death, everything. Mukti, moksha, liberation. That is possible by practicing daivi sampad, the divine virtues described in the first three slokas. 26 of them, a big list Bhagavan gives. Many of them have come in the previous slokas, while describing the qualities of a Chitta Prajna in the second chapter. The second chapter, Arjuna asks Bhagavan Sri Krishna, what are the qualities of a Chitta Prajna? In the sloka number 54, in second chapter, Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya, one who is established in samadhi. That in response to that question from 55 onwards in second chapter until end of chapter, until 72, Bhagavan gives a long list of virtues of Chitta Prajna. Some of these have come there, equanimity, etc. Then again, in the 12th chapter, describing the qualities, virtues of a devotee, Bhakta, who is a true devotee of God. Again, Bhagavan gives a list of virtues beginning from sloka 13 to 19. Advaishta sarvabhutanam maitra karuna evacha, that list. Some of these have come there. Again, in the 13th chapter and 14th chapter, we encounter similar list. In the 14th chapter, Bhagavan gives a short list of virtues of a Triguna Atita, the one who has transcended the three gunas, his qualities. So in this chapter, all of them are brought together. And this whole chapter is a description of two kinds of qualities, daivi sampad, asuri sampad. So when we cultivate daivi sampad, divine virtues, that leads us to liberation, daivi sampadya mokshaya. And if we yield to asuri sampad, asuri nibandhaya, bondage will continue in this world of limitation, birth after birth, suffering, not knowing your true nature, steeped in ignorance, that will continue. If you continue demoniac qualities, asuri sampad. And then Bhagavan assures Arjuna, you are born of very good tendencies with divine qualities. You don't have to worry. Ma shuchaha, don't grieve. Shoka means grief. It comes again in the 18th chapter. Surrender everything to me, don't grieve. Ma shuchaha. Daivi sampadam abhijatosi. You have inherited daivi sampad, divine virtues. Then again, sloka number 6. Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin daiva asura evacha daivi vistarasha daivo vistarasha prokta asurim partha me shrunu. In creation, sarga means creation. Dvau bhuta sargau, two kinds of beings are there. Asmin loke, in this world, mostly referring to human beings. Daiva asura evacha, those who have divine virtues and those who have demoniac qualities, asura evacha. Daivo vistarasha proktaha. Vistarasha means in detail the divine virtues were described earlier, first three slokas and earlier chapters. Devo vistarasha proktaha. Now listen to me about the asuri sampad. Asuram partha me shrunu. Listen to me about the asuri sampad, demoniac qualities, which you should avoid. Then 7th sloka, this also we did last time. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha janana vidurasura न शौचं नापि चाचारो न satyam teshu vidyate. Demoniac people with demoniac qualities, they cannot distinguish between action and inaction. Pravritti, nivritti. Pravritti means engaging in action. Nivritti means withdrawing from action, unnecessary action, harmful action. That means what is to be done, what need not should not be done. That distinguish asuri people cannot do not know. They end up doing things which they should not be doing, and they don't do things which they should be doing. Error of omission and commission. Omitting, not doing things which should be done, or doing things which should not be done. And they don't know the distinction. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha asuraha jana naviduhu. They don't understand the distinction. Daivi, some people understand. This came in the fourth chapter. There in the chapter 4, verse, sloka number 16, Bhagavan said the distinction between work that has to be done and that should not be done, that distinction is difficult to understand even for wise people. There he said, Kim karma kima karmeti kavayopyatra mohita. What is to be done? Karma. Kima karma, what should not be done? This distinction is difficult for even wise people to understand. Kavi means a poet, Kavi means a wise person, intelligent person, knowledgeable person. Kavaya api atra movita. They also get confused sometimes, which is to be done, what is not to be done. What to speak of ordinary people. Then in the same chapter, chapter number 4, next verse, sloka number 17, same distinction, the difficulty of knowing the distinction is explained by the Bhagavan. Karmado hyapi bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. What is karma? That has to be known. Bodhavyam, we have to understand. What is akarma? Things that should not be done, work that should not be done, that we have to understand. If you don't know the distinction, we end up doing wrong things and failing to do things that we have to do. So that distinction, the asuri people do not know. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha asura janaha naviduhu. Asuri people, they cannot distinguish. Na shaucham na api chacharo. Shaucham means purity. That has come several times before in the earlier chapters. Purity is of two kinds, external and internal. External purity is easy to maintain, keeping the body clean, environment clean, house clean, room, car, everything should be kept clean. That is relatively easy to accomplish. Internal purity, purity of the mind, that is more difficult. Bhava samshuddhi, sattva samshuddhi, it came earlier in this and earlier chapters. Purity of the mind. What are the impurities that afflict the mind? Impurities such as lust, anger, greed, pride, jealousy, fear, all those things. Sri Ramakrishna explains 8 fetters. In the traditional literature, we come across 6 enemies. Hari, Shadvarga. Hari means enemy. 6. What are they? Familiar to us already. Kama, lust, desires of all kinds. But there are some dharmic desires. In the 7th chapter we studied, dharmic desires need not be given up. They can be cherished. The desire to become a better person, desire to have more knowledge, more devotion, desire to know God. These desires are good. You have to cherish them and try to fulfill them. Adharmic desires, that we want to give examples of them, that we should not do. Stay away from adharmic desires. So that distinction we have to know. Achara, nasaucham, impurity of the mind. Na shaucham viduho. They don't know the purity of mind. Asuri Sampat people. Minds are full of impure thoughts and anger, jealousy, pride. These things are there. They're all Asuri Sampat. We should try to become free from them, or to the best of our ability. Keep the mind free from them. Shaucham naviduhu. Asuri Sampat people don't know what is purity of mind. Acharaha naviduhu. Achara means conduct. Conduct means what you do every day, all the time, from the time we wake up until we go to bed, how we behave, what we do, what we speak, how do we say what we want to say, how do we deal with people, other things, all that conduct. That has to be clean. Gentleness, truthfulness must be in our conduct. Our conduct must be gentle and truthful. Harsh behavior is not good. Asuri Sampat. Gentle behavior. So that achara they don't know. Acharam naviduhu. Even if a person has misbehaved in the past, if that person makes up his or her mind to behave properly, give up durachara, that person can also reach the goal. That we studied from in the ninth chapter. The ninth chapter, there are two slokas. Verses 30 and 31. There, Bhagavan Sri Krishna is assured even those who have done bad things, but have stopped doing the bad things and are trying to be on the right path, they will also reach the goal. Sloka 30, 31 in chapter 9. There Bhagavan says, Apiche Suduracharo Bhajate Ma Mananya Bhag. Sudurachara means a person who has been of a very bad conduct, who has indulged in bad conduct. Even if a person has been like that, Apichet Sudurachara Mam Ananya Bhag Bhajate. If such a person prays to God incessantly, changes the direction of his life, gives up all bad conduct, and makes a determination not to repeat the earlier mistakes. Such a person, Mamanane Bhag Bhajate, Saha Sadhuraiva Mantavyaha. Such a person should be thought of as a sadhu because he's changed the direction of his life. Because Samyak Vyavasito is established in the right path. What happens to such a person, in spite of evil, bad past, such a person becomes a Mahatma if he persists in the right path, practices daivi sampat. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Kshipram means quickly, becomes a virtuous person, dharmatma. Shasvat chantim nigachati, achieves Shasvat chantim means permanent peace, eternal peace. The peace we get from outside world is not permanent. It's conditional and temporary. If everything is going okay, then we are peaceful for some time. And something goes wrong, and then no more peace. That's not true peace at all. True peace has to come from within. Shasvachantim nigachati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. There's last four words. Three words are very important. Name bhakta pranashyati. My devotee shall never perish. Devotion. Daivi sampat. So even if a person has been has engaged in bad conduct, such a person also can become a dharmatma. The asuri sampat people have still continuing to do bad conduct. At some point they will, but they have not yet. Na saucham na pichacharo na satyam teshu vidyate. Satyam means it has come so many times. Truthfulness, most important virtue. If you ask me to point out one daivi sampat, which is most important, supremely important, that is satyam. Sri Ramakrishna has again and again, at least 7 or 8 times in the gospel, he has said for the Kali Yuga, satyam is the tapas, austerity. In the Upanishad, it has come so many times, in so many places. Satyameva jagate nandritam. Truth alone triumphs, not falsehood. Satyena pantha vitato devayana. Devayana means the path towards God, towards liberation. It is true, it is supported by satyam, truthfulness. Truthfulness is the path to God. In this way, truthfulness is extolled as the most important virtue in all the scriptures. Patanjali, in his Yoga Sutras, some of you are studying with Swamiji on Monday nights, Patanjali extols Satya as a Sarvabhauma Mahavrataha. The first 5 disciplines, Ashtanjali's Yoga Sutra, they are the path of eightfold path, Ashtanga Yoga. Yamaniyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, that you are studying. The first of them, Yama has 5 disciplines. Ahimsa, Satya, Astaya, Brahmacharya, Parigraha, Yama. These 5 have to be followed at all times and under all circumstances. They are of universal and eternal relevance. They never go out of fashion. Some other things may go out of fashion. That's called Yuga Dharma. Earlier we saw a distinction between Yuga Dharma and Shaswata Dharma. But Satyam is a Yuga Shashwata Dharma. Permanent, eternal. Never at no time should be made deviation, should deviate from the path of Satya, truthfulness. Ete Sarvabhauma Mahavrataha, Patanjali says. And in all places, at all times, under all circumstances, truthfulness has to be followed strictly. Sri Ramakrishna was very particular about truthfulness. Also includes keeping the word. If you say that you do something, you have to do it. Otherwise, you are not being truthful. Once he went to Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar to visit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, a famous educationist, philanthropist. During the conversation, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar said to Sri Ramakrishna that he will go and visit Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar, but he didn't. And Sri Ramakrishna pointed that out. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar said he will come and visit me here. Visit here. He didn't say me. He never used the word me. But he has not come. Like that one. Satyam Naviduhu. The Asuri Sampath people, they don't observe truthfulness. Very important virtue. Also, I mentioned last time in the Taittiriya Upanishad, that beautiful passage where the Gurukulam teacher gives final instructions to the students who are departing after finishing their studies. The students used to stay in the teacher's home, the Gurukulam, forest hermitages for 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, or longer. Then they would go back and resume their life, become householders or teachers. So while the students were departing, the teacher gives a set of instructions after teaching them the Vedas and other scriptures. Among all those instructions, the first instruction is Satyam, Mada, always tell the truth. Other things will come later. Dharmam Chara, Swadhyaya, Ma Pramadaha. Never refrain from studying scriptures. Swadhyaya Pravachana. Then Matradevo Bhava, treat your mother as God. Mother is none other than Divine Mother herself. Swamiji himself said in his spiritual, in his discourses in Thousand Island Park in the summer of 1895, there on July 2, 1895, there in that, his talks are arranged chronologically by date. And if you look under July 2, 1895, Swamiji said, our earthly mother is none other than the Divine Mother herself. Swamiji said, if you want peace and love, worship her. So, Matradeva Bhava, Upanishad says. Pitradeva Bhava, worship your father as God. Father and mother, who are they? God himself comes in the form of father and mother, gives us birth and makes us what we are, have made us what we are today. So we should always respect them, love them. Then Acharya Deva Bhava, teacher. Atiti Deva Bhava, guest. So these instructions are given. First of them is Satyam Mada. So Asuri Sampath people don't understand the importance of Satyam. They don't mind telling lies. If you tell a lie, what happens? It may give a temporary advantage in a short run, but in the long run, it creates a lot of harm. So we should never deviate from truthfulness. Then sloka number 8. असत्यमप्रतिष्ठं ते जगदाहुरनीश्वरम् अपरस्परसम्भूतं किमन्यत् कामहैतुकम्. These Asuri Sampath people, they declare that this world is untrue, asatyam. You remember several times references were made to Swami Turiyananda's last words before he left the body. Swami Akhandananda had gone to visit him in Varanasi. And Turiyanandaji was in his final days. And Swami Turiyananda said two things. He said, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, 3 times. Both of them repeated. Then, before giving up the last breath, Swami Turiyananda said, Brahman is real, this world is also real. In the beginning, we say the world is unreal. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. But when knowledge dawns, we realize that what we see the world, the names and forms and qualities and everything, nothing other than Brahman itself. So this both are real. That's Vijnani's position. So he says, Jagat Asatyam. They say this is not true. There is nothing substance in it. No substance in it. Apratishtam, without foundation. Brahman is the foundation of this world. Dharma is the foundation of this world. How can I say without foundation? Apratishtam, Jagadahur, Anishwaram, there is no God. They are atheists. They don't want to believe in the existence of a superior being or anything higher than what we see. What we see is all what is there. That's what the view of the rank materialists. There's nothing beyond the domain of senses. So that is the Asuri Sampath people, they believe like that. Parasambhutam. The beings are Kimanjat Kama Haitikam. Kimanjat, what else is there? Kama Haitikam. Because of Kama, to satisfy their lust, people engage. And then they give birth to offspring. That is not the truth. In the 15th chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, I myself have become all the beings. Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. A part of me has become all the Jivas. So when we see somebody, we should see the divine presence in the person. Just not the body and the mind. Those are all the temporary coverings. The real essence of a person is the divine presence in that person. Not only in people, animals and plants, inanimate objects too. So how can you say it has no basis, it has no foundation? Anishwaram, Aparaspara Kamaitkam Kimanat. What else is there? All the beings come into being because of the union of their parents to satisfy their life. That's not the right view of things. Asuri Sampath. Then you go to sloka number 9. Etam drishtimavashtabhya yashtatmanolpabuddhayah prabhavantyugrakarmanah kshayaya jagato hitah. Asuri Sampath. Description continues. Etam drishtimavashtabhya. Perpetuating this view, depending on this view, that this world is without any basis, there is no basis for the world, and there is no God. This is their view. They depend on this view. they propagate this view. Etam drishtim avashtabhya, depending on this view, nashtatmanaha, they are lost souls. Lost souls means there is no direction where they are going. They are lost in this world, steeped in ignorance and materialism. All they know is enjoyment of pleasures at the physical level. Nothing beyond that one. Lost souls. Nashtatmanaha, alpabuddhayaha, limited intelligence. If a person thinks deeply, then a person can see that there is something beyond the visible. There are various pramanas. We are not going to pramanas right now. There must be something beyond the visible. The cause must be there. What we see, what you are saying is the effect. Most important pramana is pratyaksha, experience. That takes time to experience divine presence in all and everything and in oneself. But pending that, there are other pramanas. For example, anumana. There must be something behind this when creation. Whole creation is going on in a systematic way. If you see even a small cell under a microscope, powerful electron microscope, you see so many activities are going on there. This cell has a lot of intelligence encoded in it. It does exactly know what it has to do, depending upon where it is in the body. How that intelligence is there in that cell, everywhere. So there must be some intelligence, which is the cause of all these things. So we can infer inferential knowledge, pending direct experience of the divine presence. The example they gave is Anumana. Supposing you are going someplace and in a distance you see a huge cloud of smoke. For smoke to be there, fire must be there. You are not seeing the fire. You are only seeing the smoke. But seeing the smoke, you can infer there must be fire. Otherwise, how else will smoke? So like that, looking at this creation world, you can infer the presence of something that is not visible to the senses. Like this, other pramanas are there. They don't believe in any of these things. Alpa Buddhaya, they cannot think that deeply. Whatever see, that's all there is. Ugra karmanaha prabhavanti. Ugra karma means cruel actions. Terrible action they engage in, like killing other people and other things that cannot even be mentioned. Evil actions they do. Ugra karmanaha jagataha kshayaya ahitaha. Destruction of the world. What's happening if you see in the news every day? Everywhere destruction. Shootings in the schools. School children take loaded guns to the school and shoot other students and teachers. Every week we hear something about that one. And at a larger scale in the war that is going on, killing killing uh, good people, innocent people, women and children, destroying hospitals and schools, everything. Chaya ahito hai. Ahita means not in the good interest of the world. Jagatah kshayaya ahitaha. They don't work for the well-being of the world people, but to destroy their interest. Unnecessary destruction, cruel actions, violence. These are all asuri sampat. Then we go to sloka number 10. We don't have to dwell much on these things. The problem is those who study the Gita and all this daivi sampat, asuri sampat, most of them already have the daivi sampat, at least to some extent. Otherwise, they would not be even studying the Gita. And those who need to read these things and change, they don't attend Gita class. We don't know how to reach them. This problem is there. How to reach the people who really need this instruction. So that is a bigger problem. Great people like Swamiji and others have reached out to larger audiences, not only during their lifetime, but even afterwards. But still, there is ignorance. So that's not going to go away completely. Never. Swamiji said, So many thousands of reformers and politicians and good people have tried to help the world, straighten up the world, but it has remained about the same. It's like the curly tail of a dog, he said. For example, so much research has been done, developments have taken place in the medical science. Remedies have been found for it at one time what were thought as incurable diseases. But still, sickness is there, ill health is there, hospitals are full. So it's going to be like that. But we as individuals have to do whatever we can. There is a nice chapter in the this Karma Yoga book. Karma Yoga book has 8 chapters. One of them is we help ourselves, not the world. That's the title of the chapter. Swami Atmagandhi gave a Sunday talk on that one some time ago. We help ourselves, not the world. So when we try to do good things to other people, charity and help and service, etc., we are the ones who benefit from it. We are the beneficiaries. We become unselfish. Whether the helps the other people permanently or not, may give him some temporary relief. If you give food to a hungry person, the hunger will be satisfied for some time. Again, you will become hungry in the evening and next day. So you cannot root out hunger permanently for everybody. But still you have to do that service. Why? Because that kind of service, selfless service, done as an offering without expecting anything in return, such service makes us unselfish and helps us to practice detachment. So when we become unselfish, we are approaching divinity. The more unselfish we become, closer we approach divinity. And when we become totally unselfish, we become one with God. This is what Swamiji said famously in the Karma Yoga lecture, unselfishness is God. So service helps us to become unselfish. But asuri sympathy people, they don't believe any of these things. They end up doing ahitaha, jagataha, ahitaha, kshayaya. To destroy the world, they're doing everything. Cruel actions they engage in. So we go to shloka number 10. Kamamashritya dushpuram dambhamanamadanvitaha mohat grahitva sadgrakyan pravartante ashuchivrataha. Resorting to kamam ashritya, resorting to kama. They can control their lust. Lust means all kinds of desires. Not only desire for sensory enjoyment, but desire for power, fame, greed, for wealth, even at the cost of somebody else, by means fair or foul, moral, immoral, all that is included. Kama masitya dushpuram. Dushpuram is difficult to satisfy. Insatiable lust, desire, anger, etc. Kama masitya dushpuram dambhamana madanvita. All these things have come before. Amanitam madembitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam in the 13th chapter. So damba means showing off, projecting one's own good qualities in an exaggerated way. Dambha, showing off. Dambham mana madanvitaha. Mana means respect for oneself. A devotee should give respect to others, not claim respect for oneself. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in the Shikshastakam, which has come several times. Amanina amanadena kirtaniya sada harihi. When we pray to God, chant the name of God, Hari's name, amanina manadena. A devotee should not claim respect for oneself, but give respect to everybody. But the asuri sampath people, they claim respect for themselves. Mana. Damba mana mada anvitaha. Mada means pride. Some such a great person. I know more than other people. I have more wealth. I'm more powerful. I'm stronger. I'm the president. I'm the head. That is pride. Mada. Mohat grihitva asadgrahyan. Deliberately clinging to dogmas. Dogma means that earlier This world has no God. On Jagadahu Anishwaram, there is no basis for this world. There is no reality beside what is being seen by the senses. By propagating, believing in such ideas, they lead their lives. Mohat grihitva asadgrahyan pravartante ashuchivrataha. Clinging to dogmas, they work with unclean resolve. Ashuchivrataha. Vrata means we take a vow to do something. Daivi Sampath people, they always make a vow, promise to themselves that will behave in the right way. Follow only divine qualities, virtues. They never deviate from the path of virtue, path of dharma. That is their vrata. Here, asuri sampath people, ashuchi vrata, they resolve is to do always something which is not in line with dharma. Such people, they believe in all these dogmas, that there is no God, etc. This is all description of asuri sampath people. 11 shloka number 11. चिन्तामपरिमेयां च प्रलयान्तमुपाश्रिताः कामोपभोगपरमा एतावदिति निश्चिताः. Aparimeyam. Parimeya means something that can be measured. Aparimeyam means something that cannot be measured, immeasurable. Aparimeyam chintam. Endless. Chinta here means not brooding, not that kind of chinta. Chinta means thoughts. And endless, here it says endless speculation till their dissolution. Depending on endless speculation, like the thoughts that were described earlier. There is no basis for this world, there is no God, and whatever I am doing is the right thing. Violence, all those things. They believe in all those things. Chintam aprimeyam pralayantam, until death. Pralaya means death, end. Pralaya means end, dissolution. Pralayantam upashitaha, pursuing endless speculation till their dissolution. Speculation about all this improper falsehood, false ideas. Kamo pabhoga parama, intent on enjoyment. Kama upabhoga, enjoyment of sense pleasures. Parama means something was engaged in something seriously. Mat parama, that expression comes several times. It has come before. Mat parama, the Lord says, one should cultivate, pursue God only, pursue me, not pursue the worldly pleasures, etc. But these people do the opposite. Kama pubhaga parama, they pursue sensory pleasures. And these sensory pleasures, they give temporary satisfaction only. But then in the long run, they are very harmful. You have studied that one before. Where? Chapter 5, Shloka 22. That's something we have to remember. The limitations of sensory pleasure, limitations of happiness that we get from sensory pleasures. There, Bhagavan has clearly described how limited and highly conditional and eventually harmful are the sensory pleasures that most people seek without thinking deeply. There he said 522, ye samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayo naya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Samsparshaja bhoga. Asuri sampath people pursue sensory pleasures. Sparsha means contact, touch. The pleasure that comes from contact of the sense organs, one or more sense organs with one or more sense objects. Seeing something very nice and beautiful, enjoying, hearing something very pleasant to hear, may be good or may not be good, etc. Touching something which is pleasant, gives us pleasant sensation, but may or may not be good. That kind of sensory pleasure coming by the contact of sense organs with sense object. There's some sparshaja bhoga. Just a common type of enjoyment people seek. Most of the people seek most of the time. What is the problem with them? Dukkha yonaya evate. In the end, they cause only misery. It's temporary, short-lived. Why they cause misery? Because adyantavantaha kaunteya, Arjuna, they have a beginning and an end. Short-lived. No matter how much we enjoy, it will come to end at some time. Short-lived. Small duration of time. Pleasure comes, that's all. Then what happens? Disillusionment, unhappiness comes. Nate Shuramate Buddha. Buddha means a Buddhiman, wise person. Those who can think deeply or intelligent people, they don't hanker for these things. They don't delight in these things. Buddha Teshu Naramate. And this we know from the story of Nachiketa. Nachiketa was offered by Yama all those things. So many times this has come before. Important to remind ourselves of this one. Yama offered a large kingdom. He said, I will make you a king of a large kingdom, as large a kingdom as you want, he says. It was Nachiketa's choice how big a kingdom he wanted. Yama would grant it. Queen and horses and chariots and music and dance and everything he would give. And a long life to enjoy these things. Any other ordinary person would have taken all these things and would happily gone away, but not Nachiketa. He said no. Firmly declined those things. He said, I want only self-knowledge, he says. Why does he would not want all these things? He says, same thing that Sri Krishna said in the Gita, 5th chapter. Nachiketa says to Yama, visualize the courage and the boldness of this little boy standing facing the Lord of Death, Yama. If you hear of Yama, we are afraid already. He says, Shobhava Martyasya Yadantakaitat. Antaka means, O Lord of Death. These things are there today, tomorrow, they are not. The Shobhava, they are not there tomorrow. Shwa means tomorrow. Very temporary. All these things, all positions are temporary. All associations are temporary. We cannot depend upon them. Suddenly or gradually they leave. All of them together or one by one. Or they will be there, I have to leave. One way or the other, separation will come. Shobhava Martya Sedantakait. Then what happens? Nachiketa says, there is a limit to enjoyment. Even if you go on enjoying sensory pleasures when they are available, a time will come when we lose the ability to enjoy the pleasures. The sense organs, the body sense organs lose their acuity to enjoy sensory pleasures. He says, Sarve Indriyanam Jarayanti Tejaha. Of all the sense organs, the acuity, ability to enjoy sense pleasures will go away quickly after some time. Even if we have access to a lot of food, how much can we eat? For how long can we eat? Every day, if you keep on eating pizza and cheesecake and all these sweets and everything, very soon the body will lose its ability to enjoy sweet. A time will come and the doctor says you should not touch even sweet. Body has only limited ability to enjoy. That's a time will come and it will lose the ability to enjoy. Even the sense organ objects, even if they are there. Sarvendriyanam jarayanti tejaha. Then the third thing Najiketa says to Yama, why we should not indulge in sensory pleasures is he says they will go away sometime or later. Temporary. Sarvendriam jaranti tejaha. And he says, Navittena tarpaniyo manushyaha. Vitta means money or any thing that money can buy. Possessions, property. A person cannot find fulfillment, contentment, no matter how much money you give him. There's always greed. Later in this chapter, we study about greed, lobha. There's no end to it. So for these reasons, Nachiketa says, I don't want any of these things. So that's what Bhagavan Sri Krishna is saying here. The asuri sympathy people seek these very things that are not permanent, that cannot give us lasting happiness and peace. Separation will come sooner or later. All the objects will be there. I have to leave, or I will be there. They will leave one by one or all together. And when the separation comes, I become unhappy. Dukkha yonaya evate. So that is what Asuri Sampat people pursue. Instead of that, we should pursue that which gives us permanent, unconditional, infinite, eternal peace. That has to come only from one source, from the divine presence within us, not from the world outside. There is no inherent capacity in any sense object to give us lasting pleasure, or sometimes they may appear to. No. If the sense objects had the ability to give us pleasure, then three things must happen. More of it must give more pleasure. Does it happen? Supposing you eat one scoop of ice cream, you become happy, enjoy. If you 10 scoops of ice cream, if you eat, then you have to seek medical help. Same, I can give other, make up your own example. More is not better. Second thing is, it must always give happiness. If some subjects had the ability to give happiness unconditionally, they must always give happiness. They don't. Sometimes they give happiness. Sometimes the same thing that made me happy today, next day they may make me very unhappy. We can clearly see this changing nature of things in relationships. The people love each other, or say, I love you, I love you, I can't live without you, I can't live without you, all those things that we are familiar with those scenario. Then after some time, what happens? Separation. I hate you, I hate you. So there is nothing permanent in this one. In this way, the limitations of worldly pleasures. The sense objects do not have any inherent capacity to give us happiness. The only true source of happiness, true peace, true joy, infinite, eternal, unconditional joy is the divine presence within. We have to seek that one, not the objects outside. That's what Asuri simple people do. They don't know where to seek happiness. Where we are doing Chinta Maparimeyam cha Pralayanta Upashritaha Kamopurvaga Parama. That's what we are discussing. Pursuing sensory enjoyments, dedicated to the pursuit of sensory enjoyments. Etavaditi Nishita, only this much is there. What else is there? Etavat only. What is there in life? Eating, drinking, making merry, enjoying. That's it. That's all. There is nothing beyond that. They don't see anything beyond that one. That is, these are all Asuri Sampat. And this, the description of Asuri Sampat continues for a few more verses. All those things. We'll continue the study next time. I shall stop here and say the closing prayer. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may all be happy. May all be free from ill health and other problems. May all realize and practice what is noble, dharmic, and auspicious. May no one be subject to any kind of misery. Om, peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. Adhyatmika Shanti. May there be peace and harmony amongst all the beings. Adi Bhautika Shanti. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. Adi Daivika Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. This weekend, Saturday, Swami Yogatmanji is coming from Providence. He has been there many times, and I will be speaking. I will give two lectures on Saturday, one at 11 o'clock, one in the afternoon, and he will answer questions 5 to 6 p.m. Sunday, he will give a talk at 11 o'clock. So, if you can come, if you feel safe, you come, and use face mask. You should be vaccinated. Otherwise, you can watch from home, whichever is convenient. All of you stay well. Namaskar. God willing, see you next week. Namaskar.